G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're returning or if you're a first time listener, I hope today is going to be a good one with hopefully some information that could help you with your cycling or possibly other sporting endeavors as well. I'm still pretty new to creating content and things like that, so give me some feedback on what you think of this format. But the general idea of it as to 10 factors that I think are contributing to the way I'm feeling on the bike right now, which is really, really good. And I might play it over some race footage from a really good race that I had earlier in the week, where probably the strongest showing that I had. So the race can go in the background, and I'll mention some of these key factors that I think are leading to my success at the moment. So if you've got any feedback, any ways that you think I can improve the channel going forward, let me know. Still, as I said, pretty early days. You'll probably also notice in some of my chat today that I'm far from an expert on a lot of these things. Bikes are not my natural sport. So a lot of things you might shake your head and think this bloke knows absolutely nothing. How did you not know that sooner? So yeah, feel free to laugh at me all you like and give me that feedback afterwards. So I've been noticing lately that all my baseline powers are up on where they were last season. So riding around on recovery days, I can easily hit a lot more power. Zone two's coming out easier. I'm regularly kind of up in the 250 range for some of that stuff, whereas sometimes over 200 watts would be a challenge previously on some of those days. Tempo and thresholds feeling easier, so it's around the board. So some of these factors and you never know which one it is or if it's a combination of all or a couple. But hopefully, some of these things could help you with your cycling too. I've purposely focused on my food and weight a little bit more since the Zwift Games. Right now, I'm probably 2 kilograms heavier than I was at the end of last season when I was, right up the pointy end of the Zwift Games. And a little bit of it was coming off a bit of a break afterwards, expecting to gain weight. But I've since noticed that my power has been really good, and I'm trying to eat more even when I was running elite, like my diet's honestly been pretty shit a lot of the time. So having Kate around me who really has a good handle on that stuff, she'd still say my diet is shit, but it's improved, and I'm really trying to focus on some of those key components of getting food in before, after, starting to eat a bit more in. Um, and I think the power numbers are speaking for themselves. So as I said, I'm about 2 kilos heavier, but my raw watts are a lot higher for those extended efforts, and my watts per kilo, I'm hitting some peak numbers as well. So I'm also like I'm noticeably more muscular in the legs. I can see that when I'm on the bike. So that kind of thing has to help for force production. And with welds on my whoosh, I think it's probably going to suit heavier riders, the dynamics of the game. So I don't think there's any drawback of being a bit heavier. And as I said, I'm finding that that's probably helping my cycling performance, and it's good because there's so much of that talk about weight, and I've even fell into that a little bit. The watts per kilo are high when we're lean, and that kind of thing. But right now, I'm feeling super strong, and I'm hoping to keep it that way, and not fall into some of those traps. But yeah, sitting at a great spot right now, and I think that ties into the next one. So I've been taking some iron supplements, one that a lot of endurance athletes do. When I was running at the elite level, my ferritin was on the low end of where it should be, and I just thought for cycling that I probably didn't really need to be doing that because the impact isn't as much, and I don't have a reputation on the bike as being a crazy trainer like I used to be, running 230 k's a week. And that kind of thing. But I've started taking some iron supplements since Kate needed an infusion, and her performance rose. And again, the performance has been good. So I'm going to continue to take that, as I don't see any negatives or any way that it could hurt. So yeah, that's another part of the kind of nutrition side of things that I have been focusing on a little bit. Another one is having a proper planned periodized block of training, which included some rest. So esports cycling's tricky in the southern hemisphere because right now it's summer everywhere, so it's the off season. But for us, it's kind of there are a lot of races. It's perfect time to be doing a lot of intensity and that kind of thing. So I kind of got sucked in when I started esports seriously, qualified for Worlds, and I had that 6 month block focusing on that, but then went straight into another 6 months focusing on like the fun community side of things like the chasing tour last year, which I, won the season with, racing on average every second day. And then it came back into the elite season again. So it was kind of 18 months without a really like an extended break. So after the Nationals, I had a purposeful break. Something I always did with running really well was after a marathon, I'd kind of periodize and give your body the chance to recover, lose fitness. And then I always found that after that process of losing fitness, that on the return, you just jump, 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 and you'd often find yourself at a place that you'd never been at before. So it's good that I feel like that's happened again. I always enjoyed the motivation of feeling at like rock bottom and then seeing progress, 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 progress. And that's something that I found in this block as well. So one that I'm certainly going to be trying to periodize some of those rest blocks in a bit more. Now, this one I hate to say it because it's not quite as fun as my first foray into the esports cycling, and that is more structure, less racing. So as I got into esports, I found that there's always something on, always something to test yourself, and I kept getting better and better and better. And I was racing, most nights, almost all of my intensity came in the form of races, and it was so much fun. Um, I think I probably also took myself from someone with not a heap of punch, and really got that as a strength in terms of my cycling. Um, that intensity from racing really took me to a new level in terms of some of that stuff. And I swore by it for quite a period of time. But this block, I've kind of went back to a little bit more pick and choose your races based on what the training stimulus is that you want. And I've been doing some more structured approach to things, kind of working from the World Championships date backwards, and what I need to focus on at various times through there. And I do hate to say it, but I think that it probably is a factor that is helping me. Uh, I've had a really targeted approach. I had a really big block of like pretty much primarily focusing on tempo as my intensity, then into like more of a kind of a threshold block, and I'm slowly building those layers beneath. And that as I start hitting more intensity now, I feel like the whole pyramid is built and structured, ready to go. And again, I wish it wasn't the case because experimenting, I would have loved to be fitter from just racing, but yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case. I think that one ties in well to say that I've had a more planned time at tempo and threshold of late. So really, previously, most of that work would have came in races. I'd occasionally do a little bit of that work outside of racing, but yeah, primarily I just hit that in races. And I think if you look at the big picture, the amount of like sweet spot work that you can do when you're actually training is significant. And I remember last year at times thinking, gee, like I can only hold like over 300 watts, and it's somewhat difficult here. Whereas now, like I've built that platform in that period, coming off the rest, and now those watt ranges in like the mid 300s are coming out so easy and for so long. So I'm doing a lot more plan time at tempo and threshold type areas, and I feel like that tempo zone you can work so much. And a lot of cyclists do it because it doesn't tire you out so much, but you can get some decent bang for buck intensity wise. Um, I feel like as I've developed and started to include that, I feel like my repeatability is a lot better as well. I feel like the number that I could actually hold for 60 minutes right now is far greater than what it would have ever been. Even when I could do like a 20 minute at 6 watts, I can probably still only do that or just a bit more, but the repeatability and the amount of time I could do below that, I think has jumped up significantly. Now, this one, super thankful to Mackay Cycles for kind of opening this new world up for me. I previously had my old bike on the trainer, no dramas. I was, pretty happy with the setup. Didn't think too much of it, but since I've had the new bike, the new Specialized, things have just went from strength to strength, and almost immediately I jumped on that bike and thing power just came out easier on that bike. It's so much more comfortable. My positioning, it just naturally felt more powerful from day one. It's a slightly bigger bike than I had previously. The whole, you want to be aero out on the road for racing and that kind of thing. So this bike's bigger. That allows me probably to have a bit more room up the front. Obviously, do a lot of standing on the climbs and that kind of thing. So there's more room for me to be in a position where I can produce power in an optimal way, and that was noticeable straight away on the new Specialized. So I think so thankful to Mackay Cycles for opening that opportunity up for me. The bike is fantastic. Also, the DO2 shifting and stuff is just so much smoother than what I had previously. Super clunky on the old bike. Obviously, I don't necessarily need to use shifting on Indy Velo, and I'm hoping that the Kickr 5 has it soon on Zwift. But for what I have done on Zwift, I'm racing on higher trainer difficulties because I trust my bike more. Because the shifting on the bike is just so much better. One thing I do still want to improve, and I think there's more watts there, is going to get a bigger set of chain rings. Currently, it's a pretty climby setup, and the big unit that I am, I've spun out quite a few times recently. So, going to get a bigger chain ring to suit these big watts that I'm putting out. Bit of tongue in cheek there. But that should help me in some of those max sprints, and then even in the breakaway efforts, because recent race on 100% trainer difficulty, I had to hit too high a cadence on the downhill for what I wanted when I was in a breakaway, and it wasn't producing power optimally. So another thing that will help my cycling in the next few months. So look out. The other one with the bike setup is the little front wheel setup that I've got here. I'll put a picture to accompany it. So Mark Gates, fantastic rider, hopefully going to Worlds for Australia as well. He has created a little front wheel block for me. So instead of the front wheel now, which moves around a little bit in sprinting, causes the back to move a little bit as well, it's now fully stable. So when I'm at 400 watts, standing up out of the saddle, I am producing power efficiently, no movement laterally. It's all coming out in that one plane, and it feels super rock solid. Also feels solid in sprints. So this is another little booster that I think is going to help me in the months to come. So cheers, Gatesy. This one sounds, probably to most cycling people, this sounds ridiculous, but my new shoes, thanks to Mackay Cycles and Specialized, so good, so good. So previously, the shoes I've had in comparison, and I know nothing about cycling shoes. I thought, you just put them on and you push the power, and that's that. Soon as I put these Specialized on, I'll put a photo in the comments. I honestly don't know the model, Ares or something like that. Um, they're just so much lighter. They're so comfortable. And as soon as I put them on, my position of power generation just felt so much better. Whatever these other shoes that I've had previously, they're shit. They are complete shit. I put these shoes on and instantly it just felt nice. I could notice cleat position and how that was impacting, which, that's rookie stuff. People are probably laughing at me right now. But getting those cleats in optimal power position was something that I could feel it when I put these shoes on. I was like, no, and I could adjust it. I don't normally have a sense for that, but I put these shoes on and I could feel it. They're obviously light, which I imagine helps you turn the pedals over quicker. which saves energy, saves efficiency. But these shoes are a game changer. Now, people are probably out here saying, but these shoes, I've got these shoes, they're $1,000, they're better, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm not experienced in that area, but these shoes right now are $1,000,000 compared to the shit that I was on previously. Another one that I always found helped me in running, and it's no different with cycling. It's winter. Um, your performance is just easier. It's the garage cooling isn't a factor. Summer, you get those stinking hot days where, even if you've got the aircon blowing in, you've got your fans, this and that, the heat can still be a factor in endurance activity. So I've always found that winter, the performance goes up, and I'm finding the same. It's cool in the garage. It's optimal for producing power for endurance efforts. I've always performed well in the cold, and I think that's a pretty clear cut one. That's definitely helping the performance. This time last year, I was going really well as well, but winter definitely easier to push power on the bike. And the other one that I thought I'd mention, and I'm not an expert on this, but the trainer. So dual recording, most events, weekly duels, you kind of line up your numbers between the Kickr and the Aethos. Both fantastic power sources in their own right, both very accurate sources of power when calibrated correctly. It's always like the old thing is when you got two clocks, you don't really know what time it is. Sometimes you get like that, but you have a look through some of the dual recordings, and of late, the Kickr has been reading, a slight bit over the Aethos, and no scientist, I don't really know the reasons for that kind of thing, but it's certainly happening, and it's one that I feel like is worth talking about. 1%, 2%, that kind of thing, that adds to your performance, and I've had that lately for whatever reason. Regularly calibrating the devices, but that's where it is. I've had patches where they've read the other way, and noticeably a difference in performances. I've had periods where the trainer has read really high. It's got out of sync for whatever reason. Done the old factory calibrations, got it back in line, and all that kind of thing. But right now, it's been reading a bit over the Aethos generally, so it's a factor. And the only other time I tested out other trainers with the Aethos was at nationals, and in all of those events, the nationals Kickr bikes read more than the Aethos, so pretty much on par with what I'm currently getting with the Kickr 5. So that kind of gives me confidence that the clocks are reading right, so to say. And obviously at nationals, I was able to produce one of my best 15-second sprints ever in the final, and I think one of my best 40-second sprints in the semi-final on the Kickrs at Kickr bikes at nationals. So I thought it's worth mentioning because all of us out there at the elite level trying to do our best and that kind of thing. Sometimes you get those little discrepancies between the devices, and yeah, for whatever reason, mine is tending to be a little bit heading towards the Kickr producing more power than the Aethos of late. Belief. So confidence and belief in yourself is obviously massive in sport. I tell it to my athletes all the time. But once some of these things started to click, I started to get the belief. I knew that I could do this number or this number, and I knew I could win this race one after the other. You get that belief. You get some wins. You start hitting numbers, and then things are just to a next level. I'm feeling that belief right now. It's a really good time to have it. I've floated in and out of belief states the past 12 months. My entry to like my whoosh and stuff like that, I'll probably start to lose a bit of that belief versus some of the top guys. Gained some of it back late last season with the Zwift Games, but then was outclassed on the Zwift Games climb. Probably start to, how do I go versus these really top class climbers? But right now, I'm starting to believe that I can hit that level, and that I am one of the best out there, and it's a really good feeling. So, and I think you get belief when you do all these other things right as well. So dialing in the food a bit better, the iron, all of these other factors I've said, the bike, the setup, blah blah blah. But all these things lead to increased confidence and belief. So I think that all ties in hand in hand. Anyway, there's some of my thoughts recently. I was super happy with this race and the power that I had versus the competition that was in this race. Two really big, long efforts and repeated super well. Hopefully, you got something out of that. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of those little factors or what you thought of it. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.